What's up, sexy buttons? It's your pal Jammo, and since there's a new Quiet Place movie coming out just around the bend of that bastard force we call time, I thought this would be a good moment to finally watch the first one. That's right, I have never seen it, so let's dive in, baby. If you're unfamiliar with this apparently beloved entry into the horror movie lexicon, it's about a family living in a world where if you make a sound, then a spooky CGI monster from the Resident Evil universe will jump out and spoil your day in a major way. The film takes place in the Pacific Northwest and follows a family comprised of director John Krasinski, a preggers Emily Blunt, and their 2 and/or 3 children, minor spoilers I guess, as they hang out in a big country house surviving the post-apocalypse in peace and harmony. Everything goes well, the new baby is born without incident, and certainly nobody dies. Okay, no, let's get serious. If you're watching this, you've probably seen the movie, but if you haven't, it's pretty good. If you're interested, I would say watch it. Judging by the following the film has accrued and the positive reviews, you'll probably like it more than I did, but we'll get to that. First of all, I want to praise the story construction and filmmaking, both of which are really solid. This is a well-made movie from most angles, with a great build-up and a very immersive opening. You see the characters moving through the world in silence, utilizing sign language which makes narrative sense because the daughter is deaf, and the fact that you don't know why is really intriguing. But then the stupid idiot dumb baby brother plays with a loud electric toy and gets swooped on by the Resident Evil monsters, and I was like, oh, okay, I understand what this movie is now, and you deserve it, buckaroo. What the hell did you think was gonna happen? No sympathy for fools, as they say. Anyway, the movie is well shot, it looks really good, and it's well paced, clocking in at a buttery smooth 90 minutes. And there are some really cool moments I want to highlight. I loved certain moments of sound design in particular, where the deafness of the daughter was utilized cinematically to underscore the tension of a scenario. She can't hear the spooky monster coming, you know, and the lack of audio in certain scenes played into that, drawing us momentarily into her world. And I appreciate stuff like that. Using the language of cinema for the purpose of immersion in a nice subtle way that plays with us psychologically, which is what good horror should do, not stupid jump scares. More on this later. I also want to praise the way the film ratchets up the tension in the second half, particularly the scene where everyone else is away and pregnant Emily Blunt has to hide from monsters while basically giving birth. And there's this really vivid shot I won't forget anytime soon where her vajazzle blood is seeping out as she hides in a bathtub. That was the shot of the movie. I also loved and hated the scene where Emily Blunt steps on a nail. You see it coming, you see that nail, we'll call it Chekhov's nail because you know somebody gonna step on it, and bare feet, big old nail. That shit was more horrifying than anything to do with the monsters. Once again, very effective filmmaking. All this being said, I did not love this movie. It had problems and some baffling lapses in logic that might not matter for the majority of viewers, but that I found incredibly distracting. Like, okay, they live on a farmhouse in the country, post-apocalypse essentially, at least a year after the downfall of civilization from the calamity of these sound-hating monsters, and yet they have power and indoor plumbing. They've got a room full of CCTV cameras and lights strung up all over the gosh darn place, and even after the monsters wreck shop in the last act, all this shit still works, even the plumbing. I was thinking early on, like, okay, maybe they have a well and pump water somehow, but then the pipes break and the whole basement fills up and it just makes no goddamn sense. Now, I am not an expert in home improvement or electricity or plumbing. I am only an expert in having douchey opinions, but in my douchey opinion, these details really matter and they drove me nuts. Did I miss something? If I missed a shot that explains all this, let me know and I might withdraw these allegations, but as it stands, this massive logical inconsistency inconsistency casts an irritating shadow over the rest of the film. While others might be shivering in terror as Emily Blunt hides in the bathtub, all I could think was, where's that goddamn water coming from? Slightly less annoying, but still annoying, was the use of some fairly generic and predictable jump scares. This annoys me in general, I'm just not a fan, but they can be well done if appropriately placed and not telegraphed like they are in this movie. And not only does A Quiet Place telegraph a lot of its scares, it does so in a way that I found disingenuous to its otherwise interesting use of sound design. What I refer to is the jump scare musical sting. In this case, something happens like, oh, you expect a monster, the sound is going quiet because you've seen movies before, and you know something loud and quote-unquote scary is supposed to happen, which is actually just startling you and not scaring you. And I don't know why people like this, because you see it coming and then boom, sure enough, it's a raccoon or something. Oh, you sure got us. And they use a musical sting at the jump scare moment. You've seen this thousands of times and it's here a bunch. And that was disappointing because the film plays with the auditory space in ways that are much more creative at other moments, and these generic stings just felt a little antithetical to what I expected. I would have preferred a more subtle movie, and this disparity in horror ethos makes the film feel halfway between a genuine horror film and some more generic popcorn slop. I don't know if this was because the film was produced by Michael Bay and therefore got dumber simply by proxy, but it had mixed results for me. Speaking of which, I'm not sure how I feel about the monsters either. Sometimes they looked good, sometimes it was straight up video game creatures from PS3, depending on the lighting of a given scene, and once again I would have preferred a more subtle approach instead of just showing them all the time. When all the water has spilt, however, from whatever mysterious origin, I only complain so much because the movie is otherwise quite good and I want to hold it to a higher standard. Solid technical filmmaking, very good performances, and some genuinely memorable scenes. In terms of tone and horror factor, it's more along the lines of The Conjuring than something really creepy like The Witch, but that's fine. I like The Conjuring, and in terms of horror films with mainstream appeal, this is one of the better ones, and I do recommend it. And you know what? Here's a little bonus just for you if you made it this far. I watched the second movie as well, and I don't really feel like making a whole episode on it, so here's my review. It's the same movie but louder and with more monsters. It's a well-constructed film. It has two narrative paths that mirror each other as the family leaves their home in search of a mysterious signal, and I enjoyed it well enough. It's more action-y. The ending fucking sucks. It just ends with no real resolution, although you do also get Cillian Murphy, which is a plus. So yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't watch it again, I don't think, but it was alright. Hey Cillian, call me bro. Me and Cillian hooked up one time in the Popeyes bathroom. He said he'd call me 28 days later, but all I got was a viral infection. A-la-da-da-da-da-da-dee. That's all folks. Stick around for the next video. Stardate whenever. I think I'm gonna look at one of those Godzilla movies. Peace, love, and I don't know, unexplainable electricity? And I'll see you later.